Zidane, Election Ninja here. Oh wait, I guess we're on the different channel now. We're on Intrepid Books. And yes, today we are back on Intrepid Books, finally. I've been wanting to make videos on the channel for a long time. So now we are going to be starting two series here on the channel. First off, on on Saturdays, I guess, I don't know. I'm not exactly certain if I want these to be on Saturdays or if I want them to be on Sundays or Mondays. It's all complicated, but basically the weekend is when you're going to be getting these. So first off is obviously this video, which is going to be teaching you guys about the Acieo language, which is the language that I use sometimes in Sting's Adventures and the other books connected to it. Most often you're going to only be coming across a few specific words, basically words that are really important, such as the 9 elemental words. These words pop up all the time, and yeah, there are other words that are connected as well. You'll also hear me saying words like Zadandani, Badan, and all of these things quite often over on my other channel, or I guess all of these channels, really. But yeah, these words are actually pretty important and in the Acieo language, but I thought I would actually teach you guys a whole bunch about the actual language itself. And the other video is going to be that of a lore video, so look forward to seeing how that's going to be playing out, because I think that a lot of you guys are actually really going to enjoy it. But like on my other channel, which is my personal channel, which is linked down in the description below, we are going to be doing a lot of these videos are going to be actually looking down at my hands while I'm writing different things to actually help you guys learn the different importance of these things. So let's actually head over there and start to learn about the Acieo Alphabet, which will be the first lesson, and then the next lesson will be about freaking greetings. So look forward to seeing that, but let's head over to the desk and learn how to actually write in Acieo. Let's head over. Alright, now then, let's actually begin learning the Acieo alphabet. But before we actually do any writing, first off, there are a few different changes that you can do when actually writing. Obviously, if you really don't like using this style, you can use the English alphabet, or I guess it's technically the Greek alphabet, and you can actually use that and it will be much easier. And honestly, if you want to use that, then that's absolutely fine. But the other thing that you can also do is oftentimes the more common way is actually a full circle for certain letters, but there's also the way where you can just make a simple open circle and they both mean the exact same thing. Some people may get elitist eventually, but in the actual writing it does not matter. So yeah, which funnily enough is also the first letter of the alphabet. A is just simply a circle. And the second letter is also very simple. B, its equivalent, is basically just a straight line. So I'm actually going to redo this. So A equals circle. Ta-da! B equals a line. Ta-da! Now we actually get into probably the most complicated letter in the alphabet. And the reason it's complicated is because the claw are a pain in the ass. And this was basically their symbol on their flag years ago, and when they decided to actually start making the alphabet more unified, they decided that, you know what, we are going to just use their symbol because they are going to hate us if we don't, to represent, and they can just use this to represent their entire race as well. And so the claw symbol became the letter C, which is using 4 fingers. And yeah, like I said, this is the most complicated symbol in the alphabet. All right. So next up is D, of course, which is one of multiple letters that actually look very similar, and you can probably guess which ones the others are, but it's simply that line and then the circle. And make sure that the circle is facing the same way as the line. That is actually going to be the case for almost every single one of these that look like that. So yeah. Next up is, of course, E, which is a box with a circle in it. Make sure that you do put the circle in it, because if you don't, then that means E. that does not mean E, that means 4, and we'll get to the actual letters, or we'll get to the numbers at the end of the alphabet. So, yeah. Next up is F, of course, which is also a bit complicated. But it's not super complicated. It's basically just that with a circle in the middle. Oftentimes this one will just be a simple dot in the middle, but you can do it however you want. Next up is, of course, G, which, like I said before, this is where those circles come in. And this one has the line. So it's basically just an upside down D. Next up is H, or H, however you want to say it, because I know that there's going to be some people who are going to get mad at me for whatever I'm doing. And that one, it looks like a chair. In other words, it looks like H. So, yeah. Next up is, of course, I. The best letter, isn't it? No, not really. It's pretty simple, though. Basically, it looks like a dumbbell. Ta-da! And you can do it like that, or you can, like I said before, you can make it full circles. Now, J is fun, because it's actually, if you know Japanese, then you're actually going to be having a very easy time with this, because J is, well, a backwards J, except for the fact that it does still have that circle, but it also has a little hook right on the end, which I know that I could have done that better, so I'm actually going to do it better by shrinking the circle. And there you go. Again, basically it looks like a hook. The reason, like I said, the reason that it's very easy for people who are learning Japanese is because this is she, or very similar to she, which is basically a backwards J, which is also how you say G. So it's like, it's complicated. Anyways, let's move on to K, which is very, very simple. 2 straight lines and then a K, which is also very similar to key. Believe it or not, I actually created this alphabet before I started learning Japanese. So the fact that both J and K actually look very similar to their to letters that are very closely connected to them in Japanese is completely coincidental. So, yeah. Next up is, of course, L. And you might think, oh, this one's gonna be simple, isn't it? And it is. It's a B, but with a space. Yep. It's B with a space. Why is it like this? I don't know. That's just what I did when I was first making this freaking thing. Next up is M, which is the easiest to remember, or one of the easiest to remember, because it is literally just like M. There is supposed to be a space there, and I just screwed that up, so yeah. So there's your M, and of course, with M, we have to do N, which is exactly the frickin' same, except that it doesn't have that middle circle in line. Ta-da! There's your N. Oh, joy. And, of course, then we have O, which, like its predecessors, is very simple. It basically just looks like an O with an extra circle in there. Which is actually kind of interesting but make sure that you that you close the outer circle. Because if you don't, then it's going to look like a 0. So, yeah, just be aware of that. All right. Now, let's actually go up here to actually continue. With, of course, P, which is is literally just the opposite of frickin' G. Circle, boop, and boop. And there you go. And as for Q, you might expect, oh, this'll be really simple, won't it? It's gonna be just like the rest of these, isn't it? Nope, screw you. It's a line. It's a 9. It's a line 9, however you want to say it. But yeah, it looks like a real 9, which I admit was kind of annoying, but I kind of wanted it to be similar to how annoying lowercase q's are. So, yeah. Next up is R, which is one of the simpler ones again. Basically, line and line. Ta-da! Simple, clean, and easy. Next up is S, which looks similar to a Z. Not in this alphabet, but it does look similar to a Z. First off, you draw your first line, then you draw your second line, and then you draw your third line, and make sure that there's spaces between them. It's still pointed the same way as a normal S, but yeah, there's that. And now for T, which is an upside down T, kind of. The reason I say kind of is because you need to make sure that there are spaces. If you don't, then you're doing it wrong. So, yeah, that's basically it. And people won't necessarily get mad at you if you don't include the spaces, but yeah. And next, of course, is that of U, everyone's favorite other letter besides I, which is, of course, an upside down U with circles on the end. Does that mean that V is very similar? You betcha. Oh, this is one of the... Honestly, I think that these letters, I really was stupid when I was making them, but it's honestly kind of fun to just know that these are how you actually do these things. But, yep. V is basically an upside down Brainiac symbol, is probably the other easiest way to do it, to explain it. So, yeah. Next up is W, which you might think, oh, is that also similar? But no. It's actually closer to the Y symbol. And it looks like a face that's angry. What fun! Next up, of course, is X, which is just like that. You can't. This line is supposed to be solid, but the circle, you don't necessarily have to make it solid, and you don't. You also don't need to make the circle solid, but that's just what most people will do, even if they do it differently. And finally, well, I guess not finally. We still have one more letter. We have Y, which, like I said, is very similar to W, except for the fact that it's different. It's like a sleeping face. I don't know why I did that, but I did. And finally, the last letter of the alphabet is Z, which looks like a sideways I. Yep, that's fun. Oh, and with that, we have all of the normal letters of the alphabet. But of course, that's not the full alphabet. We still have numbers. And don't worry, there's no, crazy things that you need to do like Japanese, where you have to make sure that everything's different. Basically, you'll say the number, and there's... yeah. So... So, first off, obviously, we have 1, which is a backwards B. Don't know why it's so freaking... yeah. I don't know. Next up is 2, which is really complicated, actually. I know I said that frickin' C is the most complicated, but 2 is also kind of complicated because it's basically a 2, but it has these 2 circles added. So, yeah. And then 3, it looks like a bow. So first do the circle, then do the lines, and then draw the extra line. And there you go. I've mentioned what 4 is already, which of course is E, but without the circle in the middle. Basically a box. And then we have, of course, 5, which, again, I don't know why I made so many of these so freaking close to their actual forms and decided to make them stupidly complicated. But 5 is actually a circle. It is a full circle with a circle inside. 6 is probably the easiest one because it's just lines. Boop, 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 boop. You don't even have to complete it. It's a G. It's RGs. So that's fun. Next up is, of course, that of 7, which is, of course, a 7 with a circle. It's kind of stupid, I'll admit. Next up is 8, which, of course, is an I without the line. I don't know why, but it is. And it also looks like a frickin' 8, so bonus. And then we have our last normal number being that of 9, which is a Y, or a backwards Y, I should say, with a circle in it. Yep. And of course, finally, we have that of 0, which, as I mentioned before, has a space up at the top and your circle. And you're done. That is the Acieo alphabet. I know these videos were kind of long, but I felt like I had to go over the entire alphabets for both of these 2 languages. So hopefully you guys enjoyed these videos, and we'll go check out the other ones. If you haven't seen the one over on my personal channel yet about Japanese, then definitely do check that out, and come back here tomorrow to learn about the elementals. But anyways, guys, I have been Electro Ninja, and I will see you guys here on Intrepid Books next time. But on!